Like if you found the video valuable. The year was 2184. Humanity had mastered time travel, but not without consequence. The Continuity Authority regulated every tick, every second, every possibility, ensuring timelines stayed intact and paradoxes never escaped containment. The few allowed to walk through time were called timekeepers, trained, monitored, and sworn to preserve the flow of history. Elias Venn was one of the best, at least, he had been. He now sat in a forgotten bar on the outskirts of New Paris, his timekeeper badge deactivated and his chronohopper confiscated. He nursed a bitter drink, watching translucent holograms flicker with recycled news from 3 decades ago. It was punishment, exile to the outskirts of history. He had broken a single rule. He tried to save someone he loved. 10 years earlier, his daughter Clara had died in a random shuttle accident over Europa. The Continuity Authority classified the event as a fixed point, unchangeable. Elias had begged, pleaded, and finally disobeyed. He used his clearance to go back. He found Clara that day, standing at the shuttle terminal, her blonde hair tied in a bright red ribbon, humming softly to herself. He approached, called her name. She turned, surprised to see him. Before he could utter a word, the sky split with a sudden blaze. The shuttle exploded anyway. Now, Elias lived in exile, a man with a fractured heart and a guilty conscience. But time has a way of stirring again, even for the damned. A knock came at the rusted bar door. A woman entered, tall, composed, wearing a coat lined with antique circuits and an authority pin too faint to be noticed by amateurs. Elias Venn? She asked. He looked up. Depends who's asking. Name's Agent Rhea Calder. I work with the Office of Temporal Emergencies. Never heard of it. You wouldn't have. It's off record. We clean up things the authority can't admit exist. Elias raised an eyebrow. Why come to me? She slid a hollow drive across the table. Because someone's tampering with the 2132 Nexus event. We believe it's you. Elias's face darkened. I haven't touched a hopper in years. Rhea tapped the drive. A projection shimmered between them. A grainy image of a man stepping through a temporal breach in 2132 Geneva. The man turned just slightly. It was him. You believe someone is impersonating me? Rhea nodded. Or you're not telling the truth. Either way, the timeline is unraveling. Geneva's becoming a hotbed of paradox echoes. We need someone who knows the system. I'm out. You still want to save your daughter, don't you? That hit like a cold slap. She added quietly, there's something new in the pattern, an anomaly we hadn't detected before. A red ribbon, out of place in 2132. The journey back to Authority HQ was quiet. Rhea handed him a temporary license and a limited-use chronohopper. One jump. In, find the breach, and get out. Do not deviate. The system will monitor every move. Elias nodded, his fingers tracing the edge of the hopper like a long-lost lover. When the vortex opened, he dove in. He landed in Geneva, 2132. The air smelled of ozone and old pine. The city hadn't yet become a glass sprawl. Children played by fountains. Drone carts buzzed quietly. Elias made his way to the coordinates provided. There, in the shadow of an old clock tower, a man was waiting. Elias froze. The man was him, younger, sharper, determined. His past self. Elias ducked behind a bench and activated a cloaking shimmer. Younger Elias opened a portable breach. From it stepped Clara, but not as he remembered her. She was older now, perhaps 20, her eyes cautious. This wasn't his Clara. This was the version who had survived, in another timeline. The past Elias took her hand. We'll fix it this time. Elias's heart pounded. This wasn't just a breach. It was a theft. His younger self had accessed a parallel layer, smuggling Clara into the mainline. It was beyond illegal. It could destroy everything. Elias had a choice. Stop them, or let it happen. He stepped from behind the shimmer. His younger self saw him immediately. So, I wondered when you'd show up, younger Elias said coldly. You know what you're doing will fracture the timeline. She wasn't meant to die, he growled. And yet she did. In our line. You can't just take another version. She's Clara. She's not ours. Behind them, Clara looked between the two versions of her father. Confused. Angry. You lied to me, she whispered. You said I could live here. You can, said younger Elias. You will. No, said the older Elias. If you stay, the Nexus collapses. Millions could fade. Clara looked horrified. I never asked for this. Younger Elias turned. We don't have time to argue. Elias reached for his emergency displacer. I'm sorry, he said. The world around them began to distort, colors bleeding, angles twisting. The breach was destabilizing. You can't take her, the younger version yelled. I'm not. I'm taking you. The chronohopper was only meant for one. But Elias forced his younger self through the breach, triggering a time loop seal. The last thing he saw before everything went white was Clara's eyes, filled with sadness, watching him vanish. Elias awoke in a sealed pod. Rhea stood outside, monitoring readings. You compressed 2 timelines and looped a copy of yourself into a closed paradox. That's not exactly what we meant by cleanup. She's safe? She returned to her timeline. The one where she was meant to live. She won't remember either of you. He nodded, heart aching. Your younger self is now in a fixed causality loop. No harm to the continuum. But you. She paused. You can't go back. Ever. Elias exhaled. I never planned to. Rhea turned to leave. There's a bench outside, if you want to sit. Years passed. Elias lived quietly again. This time by the ocean, not in exile but in peace. Every autumn, he visited the same spot, a quiet hill with a single tree. One day, a woman walked by. Her hair was tied in a red ribbon. She smiled politely. Hello, she said. Elias smiled back, heart-thudding. Do I know you? She asked. No, he said, but you remind me of someone very dear. She nodded thoughtfully. Strange. I felt the same. She waved goodbye and walked on, into the golden light of sunset. Elias sat under the tree, watching her silhouette fade, and whispered, Safe travels, Clara.